live from Television Hill. This is WJZ News at 6:30.
More than 2,100 people have died in Maryland from the coronavirus. There are more than 46,000 cases in the state, but new statistics show less than 1,300 people are spending the holiday weekend in a hospital, and ICU cases continue to go down. Good evening, I'm Rachel Cardin. Baltimore County started to reopen as people went to Sunday services, but there are still limits on crowds. Meanwhile, in Ocean City, families are spending time at the beach and on the boardwalk. Tonight, we have team coverage. Investigator Mike Helgren is live on the coast, but we begin with Annie Rose Ramos, who has the latest on the pandemic in our area and tells the story of a pastor who is defying authorities. Annie Rose.
Rachel, hospitalizations and ICU bed are at their lowest levels in 5 weeks, and this is the 8th straight day that numbers have gone down for hospitalizations.
Maryland's confirmed cases reaching 46,313. Sunday's numbers showing a decline in hospitalizations and ICU beds. But Baltimore City and County extending its prohibition of gatherings of 10 or more, including religious institutions.
If Walmart's open, it's time for the churches to be open.
Sunday services being held at Dundalk's Calvary Baptist Church, despite the county's order.
And our people were just ready to come back to church.
Checking temperatures and handing out liability waivers as worshipers arrived.
But those that are here are willing to take the risk.
It just defies logic to why they would want to do that.
And neighbors looking on with growing concern.
And he's going to have hundreds of people in here. God knows who they're going to carry it home to.
On Wednesday, Pastor Shiflett ripped up a cease and desist order.
So I'm tearing up this cease and desist order right here, and I'm telling you right now, we're going to do it God's way.
Vowing to defy the COVID shutdown.
God tells us how to worship Him. Nobody else gets to do that.
That means that the restriction of gatherings of 10 or more people remain in place, either indoors or outdoors.
On Friday, President Donald Trump labeled churches and other houses of worship essential.
But have left out churches and other houses of worship. It's not right.
Urging governors to let them reopen this weekend.
If they don't do it, I will override the governors.
I think the ministers will have to decide for themselves whether they want to protect the safety of their parishioners.
And starting next week, the Catholic Archdiocese of Baltimore have announced that they'll be reopening their churches in areas that allow for gatherings of 10 people or more. Reporting live, I'm Annie Rose Ramos for WJZ.
Thanks, Annie Rose. The crowds that filled Ocean City's boardwalk gained national attention this weekend, and there are still plenty of people outside today, despite less than ideal weather. WJZ is live. Investigator Mike Helgren has been covering how the beach resort has been adapting during this pandemic. He's on the boardwalk again tonight. Good evening, Mike.
Hi, Rachel. Good evening, everybody. A lot of people from around the country were surprised at the number of people we showed you yesterday who were packing the boardwalk here in Ocean City. The crowds have thinned out a little bit today, but we have seen visitors from up and down the East Coast. We've also got an update tonight on how the jobs of lifeguards are changing because of the pandemic. The weather Sunday in Ocean City was colder and cloudy, yet people still came in droves to the boardwalk, although there appeared to be fewer out and about than Saturday's crowds.
I think it's a little bit more crowded than we expected. Everybody's happy, great mood.
The first day I came here, which was on Thursday, there wasn't a lot of people here, but on Friday and Saturday, there was a ton of people here.
So we're just trying to keep it Maryland.
Tyler Stevens welcomes the continued business during the pandemic. He wound up running this restaurant because of it.
Unfortunately, a guy from Ireland who used to run the business here, he couldn't come back because of COVID going on. It's been a big gamble. Like I said, it's our first summer. We don't know what typically is expected yet. I think it's been going pretty good. It seems to go steadily uphill. A lot of optimism. People, I think, are finally happy to get out of the house.
While the cold weather kept many from the beach, lifeguards were still in the stands.
Pick it up, Sonny, dig!
And we were there as 37 prospective lifeguards went through their physical tests under less than ideal circumstances.
It's going to be very uncomfortable, but you know, it's part of the job.
Captain Butch Arbin says they've made changes to policies because of COVID-19.
On the beach, the guards each have been fitted with N95 masks and actually had a fit test to make sure they fit correctly. They go through a testing procedure. It takes about 15 minutes. They have eyewear and they have gloves.
They'll perform rescues but limit some types of contact.
Not doing mouth-to-mouth. We're not doing mouth-to-mask. We have deployed special bag valve masks that have special filters on them, so we will only use those, and the only people who will be doing that will be in full PPE.
As Maryland's main beach resort adapts during the pandemic, it's still a big draw.
It's been fun, but we've been playing spike ball and talking to girls on the beach. Yeah, I've been making the best out of it.
Now, Captain Arbin says they expect to be fully staffed with lifeguards throughout the summer. As for the boardwalk here, you are supposed to be socially distanced, 6 feet apart, and masks are recommended, but they're not required. Reporting live in Ocean City, Mike Helgren, WJZ.
Thanks, Mike. President Trump is planning to visit Baltimore tomorrow in honor of Memorial Day. Cars honked their horns as they drove from the intersection of Charles Street and 20th Street to Fort McHenry with signs saying Trump stay at home. The mayor of Baltimore is also hoping the president will change his plans because Mayor Young is enforcing a stay-at-home order for the city. The front page headline of the New York Times today reads, "An incalculable loss." America nears a grim milestone. Nearly 100,000 people have died from COVID-19 in the country. The names of 1,000 victims are printed across 3 pages in the paper. Editors pointed out this group only represents about 1% of the total number of victims. The subheadline reads, "They were not simply names on a list, they were us." The White House task force has expressed concern this holiday weekend as crowds of people are seen together at beaches and lakes. Tom Hansen reports for WJZ from the White House.
People were packed into central Missouri's Lake of the Ozarks over the weekend, despite social distancing orders. At this pool, few were wearing masks. And in Daytona Beach, Florida, police helicopter video captured more than 200 people crowded onto a beachside street where men were throwing money from a car and blocking traffic. Shortly after, there was a shooting that sent several people to the hospital.
We got slammed. Disney's closed. Universal's closed. Everything's closed. So where did everybody come? On the first warm day with 50% opening, everybody came to the beach.
It's scenes like these that concern the head of the White House coronavirus task force. The CDC estimates more than a third of infected individuals are asymptomatic and contagious.
You don't know who's infected, and so we really want to be clear all the time that social distancing is absolutely critical. And if you can't social distance and you're outside, you must wear a mask.
The Trump administration has now banned travel of foreign nationals from Brazil, where there are nearly 350,000 coronavirus cases and more than 22,000 deaths. Mass graves are dug and ready to be filled in the country's largest city, Sao Paulo.
As of now, I'd say Brazil, and we'll take a look at the other countries on a country-by-country basis for sure, Margaret.
But the U.S. has the most deaths of any country by far. The number is expected to hit 100,000 in the coming days. The front page of today's New York Times listed 1,000 names drawn from obituaries around the country. Tom Hansen, CBS News, New York.
State troopers are enforcing speed limits on I-83 this holiday. There's less travel than usual for Memorial Day, but troopers handed out more than 400 citations and warnings in just a few days. The majority of the citations were for speeding, with more than half of those drivers caught going more than 85 miles per hour. State police say there are less cars on the road during the pandemic, but the laws have not changed.
Feeling among some drivers that they can drive however they want, and they can take advantage of that open road and drive like they're imagining they're in some movie or something. And that's just not the case. Again, the traffic laws have not changed.
Troopers say counties across the state have operations planned throughout the summer in an effort to keep the roads safer. The Food and Drug Administration is reminding Americans not to let their guard down at barbecues and cookouts this weekend. Commissioner Stephen Hahn tweeted out that the virus is not contained yet. He wrote, "It is up to every individual to protect themselves and their community. Social distancing, hand washing, and wearing face masks protect us all." And WJZ has everything you need to know about the coronavirus pandemic. We have facts about signs and symptoms and where you should seek help if you feel sick. Just go to WJZ.com and look under top stories for a list of resources. The temperatures dropped overnight and the clouds kept us feeling cool this Sunday. Let's take a live look outside now. It's still dry out there if you're looking to grill, but let's check in with meteorologist Chelsea Ingram with a look at your full forecast. Hi, Chelsea.
Definitely want to throw a light jacket or a sweater on this evening if you're planning on grilling. Let's take you to look at temperatures across the region. Good evening, everyone. We're checking in the 60s, and for our highs today, we didn't make it out of the 60s, so it was much cooler compared to yesterday. We are right now checking in at 64 degrees at the airport. It's 63 in Annapolis, 65 in D.C., and then north of town, we're in the mid-upper 60s. All depends on where you live. Taking a look at radar, there are some sprinkles located west of Baltimore, mainly into Washington County, some in Frederick County, but all of these will stay out west simply because we have an east wind, and the east wind actually keeping us dry for a change. This evening, 62 degrees, cooler with lots of clouds. We'll talk about a warmer Memorial Day that's setting up and a stretch of 80-degree temperatures. That's all in the full forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Rachel, I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Chels. State police arrested a fugitive wanted for the murder of a Baltimore County man. Detectives say James Reddick Jr. is now in custody. They believe he shot and killed Deontay Belcher. Police found Belcher's body in a wooded area in Dorchester County on May 1st. His mother reported him missing from Baltimore County in April. State police found Reddick Jr. in a backyard on Garrison Boulevard and arrested him. The coronavirus is impacting Memorial Day events in our area. Today, the mayor of Laurel hosted a virtual service at historic Ivy Hill Cemetery. People at home were able to watch live on the city's Facebook page. Teams placed wreaths at each memorial site this morning. And still to come on WJZ News, a warehouse partially collapses along a historic California pier after a massive fire. What witnesses believe started